I want to speak about something that may not be a very popular or wanted topic, and that is your equipment. Hey guys, this is Ejaz. I am a fashion and a wildlife photographer. Today I want to speak to you guys about all the mistakes that I made with equipment when I was starting out. And I think what you could take away from here is not repeat those mistakes. And that said, I have to say to you that, when I was growing up, my father used to say to me, learn from my mistakes. And I would say to him, how am I going to learn from your mistakes? I mean, your mistakes are your mistakes, and I won't make the same mistakes. I'll make different mistakes. So I am not a believer of someone learning from my mistakes, but I think if I put it out there, and if it is in the back of your mind, maybe you will not make these mistakes. So that's the reason why I am creating this video, and I believe that you will save a lot of time and energy, and let's not forget money on equipment. So in the early days of photography, especially wildlife photography, I was, I'm going to say equipment hungry. And when I say equipment hungry, I mean like anything that was new, I wanted. Any lens that was new, I wanted. Any camera that was new, I wanted. Any tripod that was new, I wanted. Anything to do with wildlife photography, I just had to have it. I've heard a lot of videos speaking about it, but I've never heard, and I believe I have said this to myself, that hey, you don't need anything, I'm turn it on manual and that's that, and so on. So yes, all that is good and dandy, but what I'd like to speak to you about today is more about the time that you spend on this equipment. So the way it used to work for me is I want to buy that camera, and of course, as a photographer, I don't just want to go buy that camera, right? I want to go research about that camera. I want to know what other people are saying about the camera. I want to know what I could do about the camera. So here I am spending time and time and time trying to figure out if this camera basically works for me or not, right? So it has 30 frames a second and it has 24 frames a second. So I'm not going to say to you whether you need it or not, because you learn from your own mistakes. I'm not here to say that. But what I'm going to say to you is just remember the amount of time you are spending in learning a new camera versus the time you will spend in the field or even trying to figure out or practice getting better at your skills, like even focusing. Like you can sit in the house, pick up your camera, and you can start following subject back and forth. You can have your spouse, you can have your young ones, and you can try and do that in order for you to get better. But you're not doing that because you're on YouTube or you are on Google researching about the new camera. You're researching what this camera can do. So that's, for me, that's how it went. That's what I did. Once I think I have a good idea of what this new camera is going to do for me, then I am going to start to nitpick on it. Like, do I need to have 30 frames a second? Can I do with 12 frames a second? Mind you, I'm coming from a place where we were doing literally 1 frame a second, right? Now all of a sudden I have 30 frames a second and I have an option of 12 frames a second. And that is a decision that will take me days, if not weeks, if not months to make. Like, I'm spending all this energy in trying to figure out whether I need 12 frames a second or I need 30 frames a second. I mean, why? Why, right? So why is the big thing. Time is the big thing. That's like, to me, that's like the biggest currency there is, right? You lose time, you lose money. Simple as that. And here I am putting all my heart and soul into this new camera that I will probably use, and then a few years down the road, I'll change it again. So that's one of the disadvantages. That's one of the mistakes that I used to make. How have I changed that mistake? It's very simple to fix that mistake. And I think The reason why it's simple is because I say to myself, hey, you know what? I am going to go and get the best of the best, and I'm going to go from there. And that's the end of the story. So I'm not looking into specs. I am not comparing. I am not doing any of that, especially because I don't use any of the features, right? So there's no reason for me to go spend so much time in understanding the camera, number one, and then going and doing a comparison. And then so this was my process: understand the camera and then do the comparison between the camera that I have versus the camera that I'm going to buy. Is it needed? Is it necessary? Am I selling images out of the old camera? Right? So that's another mistake that I used to make, that I would like you guys to think about. Just think about it. If you're already selling your images based out of the camera that you have, then why do you want another camera? I think it's more about lust. And mind you, I want it. I still want it. I don't have any old equipment. I only have new equipment. So now Sony has gone, I've moved from Canon to Nikon. Now I'm with Sony. So Sony has introduced or is going to announce a new A1 II, and here I'm like, I want that camera. But why? 30 frames a second I'm shooting. 30 frames a second. I cannot miss anything. So why do I want a new camera? I don't know, but I want it. So the mistake that we make is that we convince ourselves that we need the new camera. Instead of that, if you make that mistake a little bit less by saying to yourself, I don't need this camera, but I want to feel happy, so I'm going to go buy this new camera just to make me happy. So if you're buying it just to make you happy, by all means, go ahead and do it. But if you're buying it so your skill set gets better, you're making a huge mistake, because your skill set is already good. All you have to do is better it, and spending time on YouTube or reading about the camera or researching and then comparing it is definitely not making your skill set better. Your skill set will only get better if you take any tool, which means a slower or a smaller or a 2-year-old camera or a 4-year-old camera. Go practice with it instead of sitting on the computer, and instead of looking at your YouTube channels and researching and reading and so on. Go practice. Practice at home. Practice outside. Practice, because that is what's going to make you better. For sure, technology is not going to make it better. Technology does not make things better, by the way. Technology makes things easier, in my opinion. Of course, the files are different, and of course, the quality is different. But if you can sell your images with the old quality and the old camera, then why and what is the need to go buy a new one? Only you can answer that question, guys. All I am trying to do here is say to you, don't make the mistake that I have been making. I have stopped that. I sincerely have stopped that. It's like an addiction, you want to get the newest and the best and the big and the this and the that. But I have stopped doing that, because I can achieve what I want out of what I have, and that is due to practice. So that is one thing that you guys should look into. Practice more, buy less, and I think you'll be a better photographer. I will speak to you guys soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.